always say, to respect the journey more than the destination.
Sure.
Yeah. So do you ever feel like, I know for my projects, it's like I'm super stressed and I'm uptight, but part of me likes that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Until I get to the point.
For sure. Like, because, I embrace being the underdog.
Or concepts to other people tend to look at it for where it's at currently. If I have a thought and I have an idea, they don't have the foresight to see what I intend to turn it into. Like for my revival project, I probably reached out to at least 50 people saying, hey, this is what I got going on. I would love for you to be a part of it. We could do this, that, and the third for you. But a lot of people left me on red. A lot of people, said they were going to do it and then come rehearsals didn't show up. But then after I had completed it and they're saying, oh, we reached like 80,000 people. They're reaching out, hey, sorry, I missed your message. And, I would love to do this and that and the third. I'm like, but I told you from the beginning what we were doing, but you didn't have the foresight or the imagination to see exactly what I was talking about. And that can kind of be on my fault too, as well, to not being able to sell an idea to somebody.
Right.
But I feel like it shouldn't have to be.
No, I get you. No, I mean, me and you relate in that, in that space. Cause I'm like, okay, if we're going to organize, we're going to plan, we're going to execute.
It's got to be a release. It's got to be an outlet, especially in those, situations. And that's why, a lot of people commonly say, oh, we need more, recreational centers in the neighborhood and to do different things, which, could be a fix, but that's not everybody's fix.
Yeah,
maybe take a discounted on Uber rides or something, do that for a community or have a fundraiser like that so where they can go to a lake and go sit out there. And, some people that might be their cachet, get away from, their communities where, unfortunately, the way things are set up, there aren't a lot of positive outlets. There's always a liquor store. There's always a McDonald's.
Right.
There's always an arms store. There's always a smoke shop, but there are no libraries. There are no gymnasiums.
The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said you're up and I'm up. Y'all now tuned in to the Grind Hard Dream Big Show. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I got a special guest in the building. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, man.
What's going on? My name is Jordan Myles. I'm a recording artist, creative. I do a lot of things, just whatever floats my boat, wherever my heart's at. I like to, take it on,
For sure. So, like, your upbringing, like your early childhood, where were you, like, born and raised?
I was born in Camp Springs, Maryland, on the Andrews Air Force Base. I'm a military child. Lived in Oldington for a while, and then I moved out to Howard County, started going to school there. Got family, different parts of the East Coast, New York, D.C., and my mom's side is from Virginia. And my childhood, I didn't have a bad childhood. I just feel like I had a lot of different occurrences and similar themes that were occurring in my childhood that weren't the brightest. It was a lot of me trying to be in certain groups, friend groups, or trying to have, different opportunities, and just something was missing to where I couldn't build those connections with people at a younger age. And, that whatever was happening at that time, it tended to carry over where maybe it's not in the exact same way where it's like they're not letting me play or I'm picked last on the basketball team or something like that. But, with opportunities that come, in this field as a creative, just feeling like not being able to connect to people the way I want to. You know what I mean?
For sure. No.
Yeah.
I can definitely understand that because, like coming up, we always feel like, okay, connection is so big, it's so important and vital. But it's like, okay, we kind of struggle with that because it's like, yo, do y'all really hear me though?
Yeah,
that type of thing. So as you kind of like pivoted and like transitioned, maybe like high school, like how was like the high school vibes for you?
High school it was decent. I guess I made the most of what I could from it. But like I said, I think I was at a stage to where like my conception on how relationships work and how people view me and how I view myself was different. High school was the start of me, getting into different things that I probably shouldn't have gotten into, being in certain situations that I didn't need to be in and associating with people that I probably didn't need to associate with. And, just trying to be accepted and trying to move with a certain group of people that probably wasn't fruitful for me at that time, for sure. And then it was hard. It's slim pickings. There's only so many people that you really do connect with. I was an athlete, but I wasn't like the top athlete. So I couldn't really, give it them. I did music, but I wasn't, like one of those music people, the creative people who do like, theater and stuff like that. I ain't quite fit in there. I wasn't that good on the game. Like I played a little bit, but I had a PlayStation 3. and
Gotcha.
everybody else had a PlayStation 4, so I couldn't
Right.
even play online and stuff. So I was
Got
like,
you.
where am
Got you.
I
Got you.
supposed to go? Where am I
Right.
supposed to go? So I had to, it took until after I graduated to get in my own lane and find a new group of people.
Nah, for sure, and I
Yeah,
get that for sure. I think that finding your lane
yeah,
and trying to fit in. I could relate to that in high school as well. It's like,
yeah,
okay, where do I belong? Like, okay, I like doing this, but then it's like, I don't know if the homies like that,
yeah,
or it's
yeah.
like, yo, I like that too, because I was heavy into the the sports. I'll play to socialize, like the basketball,
Mm-hmm.
football, things like that. But I find myself writing a lot because I love like reading and writing
Facts.
and those things. But I ain't like math. Math was not my thing. Like geometry was not my thing. But even with that, it was just like we struggle sometimes to fit in, and it's like, yo, we're supposed to stand out, but we don't know that until we kind of start
Yeah.
molding into those things that really find that. So like the passion for you, like after high school, obviously, and you saying music, like what was your first interaction with that, and what made you like kind of want to stick with it?
So I've been doing music for a very, very long time. I always had, I feel like a calling and just a overall just talent. Talent. I would describe that as anything that comes easier to you than it does, the average individual. So when I was younger, I did at least 5 years, 6 years of singing in the choir. I picked up multiple different instruments, taught myself the piano, had a, phase with the guitar, flute, different things. Never really stuck with it though. And then I want to say probably in 10th grade, I, experienced with SoundCloud, and I, bought some studio equipment, a crappy analog, interface, and probably wasn't even the right type of mic. This was probably one of these type, not a studio recording mic. And I made a song called "Love to Accelerate," but it was like LUVXLR8, like a license plate kind of.
Got you. That's fire though.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
dope.
It was cool, and I did that. It definitely wasn't a great song, but for the music that I heard other people making, I thought it was decent. And then from there, I started, keep doing the SoundCloud wave, and other people were putting music on Spotify, but I didn't know how to do it. Like nobody, put me on to how you were getting music out. Eventually, I figured that out, and over time, I say maybe uh, probably my freshman year in college is when I got a little more serious about it, through radio stations and doing the college radio that I was doing, and meeting new people and hearing, okay, you need to do this and that, but just not having the means to produce it the way I wanted to until recently.
No, for sure. So like music, I feel like is like that creative expression, right? So it's
Right.
like boom, and everybody knows like, oh yeah, I got something to say, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it and
Hmm.
be unapologetic and everything like that. So how has the networking been for you in like the music space and everything like that now?
I mean, the networking is not it's not the best. It's weird how it works. I would say if you want to meet somebody in this space, it's very much transactional.
Ooh, okay.
There's not much, like we had a very, I would say just the interaction wasn't conditional. It was like, hey,
Yeah.
I met you, and
Right.
it just grew naturally.
Right.
A lot of people's like, okay, you're gonna pay for this service. Say it's like a photographer. You want to connect with me? We're not gonna sit down and talk, and try to negotiate. I have a service. You pay for this. Yeah, I get the service, and then we might be able to walk and create some type of rapport off of that. It's never I can reach out to somebody, just a natural environment and have something that is actually taken seriously and move forward with it. If that makes sense.
No, I got you for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So that's where I kind of struggle, and that's where I had to end up making my own ways and creating things for myself to meet different people and grow that way.
No, for sure. No,
Yeah.
no, I definitely understand that because sometimes, we look at networking and we're like, okay, you know what? I have value, you have value. So let's be valuable together.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So it's
But
like,
people don't see it
yeah,
that
some
way.
people don't see it that way. But it's just like, like you said there and said before, it's like, okay, if I have a service, you got a service or whatever. It's like, okay, now, we can't do anything until, I apply my service or whatever. And I think that the level of intentionality and understanding like the long term of where this is going, that's why I think that direction is so more important than speed
It
in these
is.
situations, man. For
And I
sure.
think the problem that I faced is I always love to create just for the love of creating. That's
Right.
where it started.
Got you. Okay.
People don't have that mindset. It's I need to make money, I need to grow, influence. And it took me a while to understand, why can't we just do this, for fun? But people aren't built like that. And when I'm presenting ideas or concepts to other people, people tend to look at it for where it's at currently. If I have a thought and I have an idea, they don't have the foresight to see what I intend to turn it into. You like for my revival project, I probably reached out to at least 50 people saying, hey, this is what I got going on. I would love for you to be a part of it. We could do this, that, and the third for you. But a lot of people left me on red. A lot of people, said they were going to do it and then come rehearsals didn't show up. But then after I had completed it and they're saying, oh, we reached like 80,000 people. They're reaching out, hey, sorry, I missed your message. And, I would love to do this and that and the third. I'm like, but I told you from the beginning what we were doing, but you didn't have the foresight or the imagination to see exactly what I was talking about. And that can kind of be on my fault too, as well, to not being able to sell an idea to somebody.
Right.
But I feel like it shouldn't have to be.
No, I get you. No, I mean, me and you relate
Yeah.
in that, in that space. Because I'm like, okay, if we're going to organize, we're going to plan, we're going to execute.
Right,
We're going
right.
to literally do all three.
Exactly.
So if I sat there and told you like, all right, bet I got this idea, we can plan it. You can be a part of the planning as well.
Yes.
And the executing.
Right.
Just know it's going to get done.
Right.
So like at the end of the day, the outcome is going to be the outcome. If you want to help, please help, but just know with or without you, respectfully, it can get done and it will.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what, that kind of sort of was. It's like, all right, bet. And then you were able to bet on yourself and make it happen. You know what I'm saying? It's the belief in God and everything like that, and understanding like, okay, he called you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You're a special person. You're walking into that special power.
Yeah.
It's all happened, bro. Like, know what I mean?
And it was a team. I can't give myself all the credit.
Yeah,
there
for
was
sure,
the
for sure.
team of people, and even if the people that were a part of it that didn't have the best intentions going into it, because my whole idea was like, hey, I'm going to uplift the name. We're going to reach people that don't necessarily listen to Christian hip hop or faith-driven music or even are receptive to that message, but we're going to have it in a way to where you don't have to be a part of it, where you'll just turn it on in your car and it's like it's playing and you wouldn't even recognize it, but you're still getting a good non-secular, just good image. Some people helped me out during the way and then said, at the last part, we're at, the finishing stages. This is going to cost you $800 to do this. And I'm like, well, we planned everything. We did this. We did a couple rehearsals. Why am I just figuring out that you're doing this on the last step? And, that kind of, some curveball, but I learned from it. I learned from it.
For sure.
Yeah. And even if they didn't follow through on that last step for the final production day, they still helped, somewhat formulate the steps before that.
Got you. And so I guess like what inspires like the titles? Because, I think that, with art, it's very intentional, right?
Yeah.
And everything like that. So what inspired the title and what kind of like drove the project for yourself? Like where you're like, okay, this is what I want to call it. This is really what I want the focus to be on.
As far as my latest project?
Yeah, as far as the latest.
So the project, The Calling, came from me feeling like I had a call in my life to, use my gifts, with music and being a creator, to uplift the name and, fulfill people, and not tear people down or not be in a, just a secular space. Prior to that, I went by a different name. I've talked about different things, and it wasn't that it wasn't a part of me, but it was a part of me that I felt wasn't fruitful. It wasn't going to where I wanted to go, and it definitely wasn't uplifting people for sure.
Wow.
Okay. And so I started going to church. Got baptized, and found definitely a better version of myself, through God and through Christ, and wanted to share that with others of my testimony in a raw fashion to uplift people. So
that's fire,
so
man. And that's a that's a transformation as well, and I think that's so vital and dope because throughout life you're going to go through new levels, and
right?
You're going to want to transform, or this notion of reinvention and things like that, and how you strive to get better. So it seems like the art is more intentional. It seems like you got it's the creative process is more fruitful for you. You're seeing it, and it's not only yourself, like it feels like it's selfless now and you're seeing the bigger picture. So definitely kudos to that, bro.
It's not only about me for sure. And definitely just wanting to just touch as many people as possible, and we've done that. And taking me out of it. Before I was creating to, I want to have this dream, I want to do this, that, and the third, and now it's not really about me. That I'm like number two, number three on the list. First, it's about uplifting the name. Second is about reaching people. And then if you can get fruit off of that and just say, hey, you created this, then that's where I can come in.
Nah, for sure.
Yeah.
Facts.
And it takes pressure off you too.
Nah, it definitely do. Yeah, that weight is a little lighter.
Yeah.
For sure. So like with you and you being passionate about the youth, man, for one, I want to say kudos for you pulling up, talking to the kids, man.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
What was that interaction like for you, like talking to the kids? Because I know you were like, yo, this is something that I was thinking about doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, it happened. So like, how did you feel about it, talking to the kids and everything like that? Like, what was that for you?
I enjoy talking to the kids. I think my whole like professional resume outside of music has to do with childcare, youth development, healthcare, things of that nature, therapy. That's what I've been doing for a long time, and so that's another gift that I have. It's just natural for me to connect to younger kids and seeing those folks that were in there. It was just interesting. It was relieving to know that there are still kids out there who dream hard and they have they're passionate about their goals. And my job I wasn't going into the school saying, hey, this is what I do, I'm a therapist and I help kids. Like, I didn't think that was going to mean too much to them. What I wanted to talk to them about was just simply obtaining a goal and having a realistic goal. In our Black community, I think we glorify, things that we think are very fruitful for us. You want to be a rapper, you want to be an athlete, you want to do this, that, and the third. But we talk about these things, but we don't talk about, hey, we're rapping, but we also have another job,
right,
to feel that passion.
Facts.
Yes, we play sports on the side, but I'm also a physical therapist,
right,
and I do something like that. So, and I think that's where you're giving them a disservice. I asked the kid once, I said, so how much do you think a rapper makes? He said, they make $1 million a year. And I said, okay. And I gave him the statistic and it was like 5,000. And I thought that was severely stretched because, like I said, as an artist, I don't think I'm making 5,000 a year off of music, and so I'm just being realistic. I didn't want to shortcut them and just give them better goals to reach higher heights.
No, for sure. And I think that's very dope and transparent.
Yeah,
because I think the transparency, like you were saying, is lacking.
Right? It is.
Where it's like, okay, cool, you can do this, but just understand that if it starts off as, a hobby first, because that's normally how it starts, then you have to be able to invest into it and things like that. So for you to just break it down for them in that way, I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
It takes a lot of vulnerability for that and a lot of power for that, because a lot of people would I sit there and be like, oh yeah, well, it's really that for real. It's really that for real. Yeah, right. But for you to break it down in a way where it's like, okay, yes, I want you to know it is obtainable.
Yes.
But just know that it's a long-term process.
All I was saying was just you can be this and
right.
Something that it can't be because we're lying to them, and it's just not true. It's just not true. And that's what sets them up for failure. I know for me, a lot of people that I knew, they're like, I'm going to go out of high school and I'm going to strictly pursue rap, and they are no longer doing that, because it just doesn't work out that way. And you need other people. It's not solely in your power. I can control getting a 4-year degree. I can control, applying to certain jobs. But for someone to see value in me and to put a paper in front of me to give me money that's actually going to sustain me, that's out of my control.
Right.
It's by chance.
Got you. For sure. No, for sure. I agree with that 100%. And I think with the youth, for them to understand that as well, because, we're in a generation now, instant gratification, TikTok, we're seeing things so fast, so quick, so, quick, fast, and hurry. It's like hurry up and buy.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying? So how are you able to, kind of like adapt and utilize social media with, your music and everything that you got going on, and how has that been like for you?
It's been good. I definitely, just with the amount of resources I put into this revival project, I am not doing any shortcuts. Okay. So whereas like even if I put in a lot of money above my budget originally, I'm closer to the end goal than I am from restarting.
That's dope.
And the content game and engagement is all about momentum. So if you go a month and let's say before I started the revival campaign, my profile had 10,000 views a month. Now I got that up to 80,000. If I stop posting for a month and it goes down to 50K, down back to 10,000, it's going to take me more time to get back in the flow of, getting into that content to get the engagement. And then it's also a give and pull, because you don't want to put content out there that isn't meaningful, because then you lose the engagement and people don't want to watch your stuff because you're either putting it out too fast or you're putting out things that just aren't sustainable. They're not fulfilling to watch.
Gotcha.
There's no substance in it.
Yeah, for sure. And
So
I think that's a big word right there, substance.
Yeah.
I think that, it's like we in a fast food generation. Where's the soul food at?
Yeah.
I kind of look at it, right? Because it's like, all right, I remember how it used to be like back in the day, or like if you're listening to music, it's like, teach me something.
Right.
Nah, for real, like teach me something. I'm going through something,
Mhm.
but I'm listening to music now. It's like I ain't really learning nothing. Like everybody talking about the same thing, and it's like.
Matter of fact,
And
I think I'm losing brain cells listening
Right,
to
yeah.
it.
It's like, hold on now. Like,
What
all
do you
right,
say?
come on, man. Like, yeah. So I think it's just like, I that era where, you came up and the storytelling and the everything from the essence to the graffiti or whatever hip hop, used to be. And now you have all these subgenres. It's crazy, man.
And I'm a little bit of a hypocrite too, because like I said, I used to do it.
Right.
And so I can't completely downplay it. But I will say that this, switch not only has done better for me internally, cleaned up my image, and I've seen better results. But I think what is being, publicized and being pushed are these, ultra, just aggressive and edgy things, where we are not pushing the more positive, images and of people and good music that way. And so have the music be bad. And sometimes it's not even about the music.
Right.
It's an aesthetic.
Right.
To where if you have a certain characteristic about you, take Dave Blunts.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's probably thousands of Dave Blunts that make, similar music to him. But the fact that he looks a certain way and that he has an awe factor. Oh, he stood up on stage. He said he's gonna, skydive, or not skydive, stage dive. That's what makes it appealing, and that's why he's successful.
Right.
Look at Taylor Swift. There's plenty of people who look at Taylor Swift, have a poster in the room, and they see themselves in her. It's an aesthetic. I can't think of anybody else who has just a quality about them that makes them successful, but it really doesn't have anything to do with the music.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
So as you're navigating through all of this stuff, like what does the self-care look like for you though? Like, cause I know that, you could be in the studio recording a lot of music, working at the job, all these different things.
Yeah.
So like, what is the self-care like for you, man?
Self-care. This is my self-care. I have gotten to the point to where if I don't create or I'm not writing or doing anything in that type of fashion, then I just don't feel well. It's my release, and I just have to do it. Even if I'm not gonna say I'll be rapping or making music forever, but I definitely will still be creating, most likely, because that's just the drive. That's just what has been put in front of me. And of course, just out of a competitive nature, I want to be successful at it. But that's my self-care. I need to create. I need to put things out there because I feel like I have a story to tell that can help others.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
That's definitely dope. I think, myself for the self-care is, like working out, trying to distance myself from the phone. I feel like every time, I pick up the phone, it's like,
Phone is terrible.
Phone is terrible.
You look
bro.
at your
Like,
screen time, bro.
Screen time.
Oh my
crazy,
gosh.
dog.
Oh
Like,
my
hold
gosh.
up. Like, wait, man.
Need a
You mean what,
detox.
dog? I hopped on the app. I just sat there and just dropped this content, and all of a sudden it's like, bro, I was on the joint for an hour. What the
Right?
fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
dang, bro, what did the time? I just lost an hour. It's 24 hours
No.
a day. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, definitely that. And just enjoying moments. I think, for myself is just like taking myself out more. And I think because, working a lot, you work a lot of hours.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a futuristic person. I always think of like what's next.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like really be in the moment and really celebrate the now, So that's what I would say the self-care is like for myself.
They always say, to respect the journey more than the destination.
For sure.
Yeah. So do you ever feel like, I know for my projects, it's like I'm super stressed and I'm uptight, but part of me likes that.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Until I get to
sometimes,
the
yeah.
point.
For sure. Like, because, I embrace being the underdog. And I think that, that's why it's similar as well. It's like, all right, bet, go ahead, count me out. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's just going to sit there and put more fuel in my tank to be, all right, the same person that counted you out is going to count you in.
Yeah.
Like you sat there and said, even with, like I said, your project, and shout out to your team. It's like, all right, people, it's like people have to see it first.
Yeah, yeah,
Unfortunately,
yeah.
to be like, all right, man, all right, you know what, I'm gonna get with it now. And that just is a part of the game and what we've seen. But I think I embrace being the underdog, and it's like, yeah, you know, a little bit of pressure, school. Why not?
Yeah, I mean,
It's what makes you, right?
it
In a
is,
sense.
it is. But I mean, in this game, I think for me specifically, it's kind of disheartening a little bit.
Mm,
With on the religious tip, I've been going to churches and I've been submitting my project out to a lot of different churches, and I think my before I started attending church, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a supportive environment. People are going to want to see me in there. They want to, they want to have influence on people's lives. So I was thinking, if I present this project to them to where I know I've seen the results, I've reached a lot of different people, that they would be receptive to, even if it's not, put me on a stage or whatever, but just to listen and to,
right.
have a conversation. But then I quickly figured out that church is actually a business still. To where, yes, we're trying to reach people, we're trying to find God, but we got to keep the lights on. We got to do different things.
Right.
And so we might not be as willing to put on a act that is different from non-traditional worship and different things of that nature. And I think the part that was really disheartening is just not getting a response back.
Wow.
So you go and you send emails to a lot of different people, and they just didn't respond.
Wow.
They didn't reach back, and so that was kind of it was disheartening. But it makes me. I have to forget about the part of what the organization did, but what actually occurred in the church. Yes, I found God and I did all these different things. That still happened in the church, which is great.
For sure.
But now that I'm having my own desires and I want to contribute in my own fashion that is outside of the structure, I'm starting to get rejections, and it feels disheartening. So that's where that church hurt, people say, all the different things from the church, but I don't want to be an advocate of, I'm allowing, the church is a negative place and different things.
Definitely not.
No, but I'm just being honest of like how I felt with, with that whole thing, and just trying to, navigate and still keep the main thing. And eventually, hopefully we get a yes to go push forward with that.
For sure, man. So like, I guess, with this, did you have like any influences or like, people you listen to, your motivation, your why, like who kind of inspires you on this journey, man?
No, as far as musical influences, I didn't. I'm sure there's other people who make similar music to me, and have a similar genre to what I'm doing with like the jazz, blues, hip hop. But I haven't listened to anybody, and said I want to sound like that for sure.
Gotcha.
Just kind of came to me naturally. As far as influences, the pastor at my church, he said something along the lines of, if your anointing will never manifest if you don't act on a thing that causes an issue or causes some type of aggravation in your body. Until you act on it, until you be bold, until you confess, how you're feeling, and until you put in the work to do it, it's never going to turn into anything fruitful. Gotcha. So that's what started me going for this project. And it was hard to do that because it's a touchy subject. I just, recently been talking crazy and looking different. I'm like, I don't want people to think I'm a fraud, but I want to be, full force, and I got to be bold and transparent about, what I'm doing now.
For sure.
Yeah.
And like I said, walking into that boldness, being courageous.
Yeah.
I commend you for that because like I said, with art, of course, all art can be subjective, but you're looking at it from a standpoint of this is me. I'm going to tell my story. The only person that can tell it is me. And hey, man, look, I got a story to tell.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You like it, you like it. You love it, you love it. You don't like it, you don't like it. But guess what? It's not going to stop me from telling it.
Yes, sir.
That's
yes,
really
sir.
what it is.
I got that be up on that.
Yeah, not for sure.
That's facts.
Because
that's
I think that's what a lot of people have to understand. Like, if you have a story and it's meant for you to tell it, I'm saying go ahead, tell it.
Yeah.
I know for myself, like being poetic and writing raps and things like that. And oh yeah, you're the backpack rapper. You're an old school type of guy. Like, ain't nobody want to hear that. But it's like it's so funny now when times is just changing. Oh man, you got some positive music, man. The kids need to hear something positive. Got that.
What happened?
I'm saying, so it's just those different types of things, man. So it's just sticking, like you sat there and said, man, making the main thing, and just focusing on it because at the end of the day, only you can tell it the way you could tell it Only you
Yeah.
can rap it the way you can rap it, and it's your gift, bro. It's not
And getting
nobody
in front
else's.
of the right people, man. Like, like you said, before you probably were going against. That's like me going to a Playboy Cardi concert and trying to rap my album. Nobody's gonna, be receptive. It's just not my space.
Right,
But
right, right.
that's why I was trying to look towards more religious, gatherings and things of that nature, to where people be like, oh, okay, yeah, we could actually use this. This is actually something that can help uplift our motive and mission towards people.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah, and that's
definitely, and in realizing that you're an asset in the situation.
yes, yes,
And I think that that's the biggest thing, bro. Like we all have value, and like I said, I think that you are well on your way with that, bro. For
yeah. I
sure,
appreciate that.
because you're creating a lane for yourself. It's different. It might seem like it's some traffic, but it's really not in the
Yeah.
long term because it's like nobody's really doing or thinking about it the way you are.
Yeah,
And that's what
yeah.
makes you unique, and that's gonna make you stand out from others. And even with music, for me, I always feel like frequency is always good. Like I said, and what you want to listen to, I always listen to like reggae music. I listen to gospel. I always try different things. I'm always in the notion of like, yo, try new things
Yeah.
because you never know what those things could be. And then all of
Mhm.
a sudden it's like, dog, man, I came across this artist and this artist was dope, or I came across this and that was dope too. So like whatever works for you and that's your jam, man, stick to it.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, this is a new lane for me for sure. But I can't. There is no doubling back, so I can't go here and then go, back. I'm going to stay true to this mission, and I know that God's going to do the exceeding and abundantly with it, and we're going to see where it goes.
For sure.
Yeah.
So what is some advice for like, I guess, like what is something that you would have told your younger self? And then like, I guess, what is some advice for like the youth now?
I think I would be farther ahead if, just like we talked about earlier, trying to fit in when when you're actually supposed to fit out. I would be way farther ahead had I started earlier at a younger age, and started pushing my own narrative and being bold with who I was. It took until after I left my circle and community to see other people doing that and being successful for me to get the clue, like, hey, I actually have some value and there's something unique about me that is appealing to others. And there is, if I had started that and it's just drowned out all the noise, went against the grain with what people were telling me you should do, and I can't be the only one who did it. I know a lot of people were very much group thinkers, to where one person does it, or this is just like a common trend that we have. We all kind of have to fall in line. I wish I had gone against that, because one, it wasn't really me, and two, you can't play your part if you're not playing who you actually are,
Facts.
and stepping into what you know.
Facts. I
Yeah.
think safe to say like God doesn't bless who you pretend to be.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
for real. Like
Yeah.
you have to really authentically be this person. Know that you have flaws. You're not perfect, and it's okay because we all are humans. But just realize, like, as long as you continue to operate in your gift and operate with your purpose and understanding your calling, that nobody else can really interfere with what He has for you.
Mm-hmm.
Know what I mean? So I think that that's definitely a big thing too. And for the youth, I definitely want them to just imagine. I think imagination is so important for
Yes.
them to dream and realize that they're not their circumstances.
No.
Like I said, it's not their fault. A lot of the teenagers I know, they feel like they are being robbed of their childhood because they're growing up fast. They have to, babysit and do all these adult type
Mhm.
of things. But start living and not, instead of surviving all the time. I know that we're all striving to do that. Start living too. So what I mean by start living too is like, don't be afraid to explore. Get up out your neighborhood, take a trip or take a walk. Do something fun. Do something that you love. You know what I'm saying?
There's got to be a release. There's got to be an outlet,
Yeah, for
especially
sure.
in those, situations. And that's why, a lot of people commonly say, oh, we need more, recreational centers in the neighborhood and to do different things, which, could be a fix, but that's not everybody's fix.
Yeah,
Maybe,
sure.
maybe take a discounted on Uber rides or something, do that for a community or have a fundraiser like that so they can go to a lake and go sit out there. And, some people that might be their cachet, get away from, their communities where, unfortunately, the way things are set up, there aren't a lot of positive outlets. There's always a liquor store. There's always a McDonald's.
Right.
There's always an arms store. There's always a smoke shop, but there are no libraries. There are no gymnasiums. There are no, Rex and Park type of things. Like they just don't exist by design. So we need to figure out a way to show people, one, that there's more outside of this 15-mile bubble that you get to experience. Or even if you have the means for transportation, there's life beyond the metro system.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
can go somewhere else and you can see how other people are living. Yeah, and I think you also need to see the beauty of where you're at. I'm literally just came back from Philly, and I realized that the DMV, we have something unique about us. As far as our culture and trend. I seen people going out to nightclubs wearing just regular T-shirts and khakis. I'm like, oh, that would never happen around here.
Yeah,
People
for
are
sure.
real dressing.
Yeah.
You got a certain flavor about you, but you don't respect that. If people want to leave instead of saying, hey, this is actually a unique thing that we have in our city and that is unique to us that we should uplift and continue to carry.
Yeah, for sure. I think the DMV is like really no place like it.
No.
When it comes to the fashion, when it comes to the
Nah.
entertainment, the basketball, you name it, I feel like we have it.
We do.
And it's just a unique, beautiful place, man. And there's so much history here. You know what I'm saying? And I think that the representation, like you sat there and said, just buying into that community and understanding, like, yo, we have infrastructures, we have people that are doing dope things. You're doing dope things. I'm doing dope things. There's a lot of creators I know that are doing dope things. So for all the artists out there, I always tell them, man, like, don't stop creating.
Yeah.
Don't stop creating. Keep making the music. Producers keep making the songs. DJs keep making the mixes. Content creators keep creating the content. And just know, photographers always, like I said, never stop shooting with that camera. Just keep doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody sees you, they appreciate you, they love you. And there's some people that see you and appreciate you and want to be literally where you're at right now in your journey.
That's exactly where I was going. I feel like I have just this notion to where it's like I'm not where I want to be, or I'm looking at the next man do something and I'm like, I feel like selfishly I think that I could perform better than what he is, but I'm not getting the same results, not knowing that there's people behind me figuratively that are looking at me and saying, I wish I could be in his shoes. There's a saying, somebody told me, that if you and your people that you're comparing yourself to at a table and you all just put your problems on the table, yours would probably be the first one to get picked up. And so that really touched me, where it's like, okay, we have just ego about our situations, not knowing that there are other things going on around us, that there's a lot of favor actually in our lives that we just go unnoticed to and don't appreciate.
For sure, bro.
Yeah.
Man, this conversation was so therapeutic, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like it was definitely dope, man. You're doing dope things, man. So I would just say continue to grind, continue to dream big, bro. And like I said, man, like continue to shine the light that God has given you, bro. I think that you are going to reach like a whole nother level. Like right now, maybe like a 1.5. Then I would love to see what the 2.0 looks like.
Yeah, yeah.
2.5 and the 3.0.
For sure.
Man, just keep doing what you do, bro.
Thank you for having me, and we'll continue to grind hard and dream big.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
And you already know, y'all, the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. And we out.
Peace.
Soundstripe.